Check your understanding for 313. We are in the medium section of our work. For each of them, we are going to need to do 3 different things. We're going to draw it, write it, say it. And when we write it, we're going to write it in 3 different ways: as a percent, as a decimal, and as a fraction. So our first given is 75%. I know that percent means out of 100. So I can do 75 out of 100. And then I can take my fraction and turn it into a decimal. I know that I have 100 there, so I'm going to draw my place value lines because it makes it easier because I know I'm going to tenths, hundredths, and then fill in my numbers. Then I'm going to draw it. I know I have 7 tenths, and each line here is 10. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So right here would be 70. And then I have 5 more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there would be 75 out of 100. Then to say it, I would say 75 hundredths because the last place value that I have is hundredths. So we have 75 hundredths. Or we could break it down as 7 tenths and 5 hundredths. So there's 2 different ways that we could say it. Our next one is 0.30. I know that I'm in the hundredths place, so my fraction is going to be out of 100. And then I just take my number from that, which is 37 out of 100. And then for my fraction, this line and my hundredths means out of 100, which I also know means percent. So I can just take this 37 out of 100 and add that percent. To draw it, I have 3 tenths. So I'm going to do 3 lines because those lines are equal to 10. And then I have 7 ones. So do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there is my 37. To say it, we could say, because we're in that hundredths place, we'd say 37 hundredths. Or we could break it down and say 3 tenths and 7 hundredths. Our final number down here is 6 tenths. Now we have been working with hundredths because I have to make a fraction into a percent, and that fraction and percent I know means out of 100. So we're going to use that giant one and say 10 times what equals 100. 10 times 10 equals 100. Whatever I do to the bottom, I also have to do to the top. So 6 times 10 is 60. So I know that 60 over 100 is the same as saying 60 out of 100. And 60 out of 100 can also be written as a percent. Then what I can do in 2 different ways. The first, this bottom number tells me that I am in the tenths place value. So I just draw 1 line and I would add my 6. Or if I'm looking at either my percentage, which I see 2 into the out of 100th, I could do to my hundredths place value and add in my numbers. But remember, with a decimal, you don't need to have that extra 0 at the end. So 6 10 lines, which these are 10 lines, so I could do 6 of those. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. And then shade those all the way down. Okay. Then I could say 60 hundredths or just 6/10. An article in the local paper states that 30% of the students at Oak Grove Middle School, I'm going to circle or box 30% because I know that's important, earned a place on the Silver Honor Roll. If there are 920 students at Oak Grove, how many are on the Silver Honor Roll? Use a percent rule to help you decide. Show all of your work. So my percent ruler, we're going to start at 0. And all of my students, 920, go here. Now I'm going to have my kind of my tick marks here. And this right here. So the bottom is going to be students, and then the top we're going to do in percent. So our bottom here is 0%, 100%, and then halfway is 50%. So what you can do is you can start with this 50%. And I know that 50% means 1/2. So what is 1/2 of 920? And that is 460. So 50% is 460 students. Now what I can do is to know each of these tick marks. There are 10 pieces or 10 parts out of that 920. So I can take this and divide it by 10, which would be 92. So each tick mark would be 92 more students. So this first one would be 92. Then we would have 184. The next would be 276. The next would be 368. We have the halfway mark, which is 460, plus another 92, which is 552. Next is 644, 736, and 828. So I know that I want 30%, and each of these tick marks is 10%. So we have 10%, 20%, 30%, which would be 276 students. All right, Maurice's gas tank can hold 60 liters of gas. On your paper, copy and label the percent ruler below. Then use it to find how many liters are in the tank when it is, that should be, I think it's 7/10 full. Didn't come down. So 7/10 full. So if I'm looking down here, I have 0 liters to 60 liters. Again, I want to label my percent ruler. So I'm going to go half, which I know will be 30. It's kind of a good marker. And I have 10 parts, so I'm going to divide 60 by 10, which is 6. So each tick mark is going to be 6 more. So we have 6, 12, 18, 24, 36, 42, 48, and 54. Then I'm going to take 7/10 full. I can do this in a couple different ways. I know that each of these is 1/10, or I can relate it to my percent, and I know that 7/10, to get a percent, it has to be out of 100. So I say 10 times what equals 100? Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. 7 times 10 is 70. So I'm going to be looking for that 7 out of 100, which is equal to 70%. 60, 70, which is 42 liters. Finally, given the numbers 18% and 0.7, explain which number is larger by using words and or pictures. So I have 18% and I have 7/10. I know that percent means out of 100, so I'm going to rewrite this as a fraction. Here I'm in the tenths, and I have 7 of those, but I need to make it equal. So I'm going to use that giant one again. 10 times 10 equals 100. Whatever I do at the bottom, I need to do at the top. 7 times 10 is 70. So I either have 18 out of 100 or 70 out of 100. 70 out of 100 is larger because I converted them both to fractions that are out of 100, and 70 is larger than 18.